Hello everyone. Many of us get confused about the kind of murmurs produced in the different valvular heart diseases. In this video, I will give you a very basic and easy explanation about the production of these murmurs so that you can remember what kind of murmurs are present in what valvular heart disease. So the main thing you need to know is that we have two kinds of murmurs, systolic murmurs and diastolic murmurs, and they are based on ventricular systole and diastole. So, a systolic murmur is produced in ventricular systole and a diastolic murmur is produced in ventricular diastole. Now, what does ventricular systole mean? It means that the ventricle is contracting. When the ventricle contracts, blood is pumped from the ventricle into the aorta. Now, let's say if there is a stenosis in the aortic valve, the blood will have a restriction to flow, which will produce a murmur. So the murmur produced in aortic stenosis becomes a systolic murmur, which has a special name, ejection systolic murmur. Other than that, if there is a mitral valve problem, when the ventricle contracts, that is in systole, the blood will flow back from the mitral valve into the atrium. This is mitral regurgitation. So this produces a systolic murmur, which is a pansystolic murmur. Now, so far, we have two conditions that produce a systolic murmur, atrial stenosis and mitral regurgitation. Now, during ventricular diastole, the ventricle is relaxed and blood from the atrium flows into the ventricle. So, in mitral stenosis, if there is a restricted flow, the murmur will be a diastolic murmur. Similarly, in aortic regurgitation, blood flows back from the aorta into the left ventricle, causing a murmur in the diastolic phase. So, the diastolic murmurs are mitral stenosis and atrial regurgitation.